Let's hear from the one and only Garland Nixon how it's playing in Peoria. Garland, how's this all going down?
I think that one of the things that we're seeing is that Donald Trump's poll numbers are remaining high. His support is remaining strong. It's not affecting in any way, shape, or form the way the people who supported Donald Trump felt about him. I think it is obvious that the system wants Donald Trump out and that they're pulling out all stops to ensure that that happens. The interesting thing that I would like to see would be poll numbers amongst independents. We're not seeing a lot of poll numbers about how people feel. We're not particularly seeing how this is playing out amongst independents. I also think that, the people who hate Donald Trump and who want to see him, taken down are excited about the charges. But I think that this is going to be an extremely difficult case to prove.
Well, especially as he implied and I adumbrated at the beginning, most politicians, including most recently, are always contesting the results and outcomes of elections. How can that be a crime?
Well, in fact, it is a very important part of the democratic process. You cannot argue that you have a democracy unless there is a method of challenging things that happen during the election that you feel may be illegal. As we know, the U.S. is quick to point out problems with elections throughout the world, even where, in fact, they don't exist. So in this case, particularly, I think the thing that's interesting is that if one of two things happened, if in fact there was an election problem, everything that Donald Trump said and did would be perfectly legal and acceptable. And if in fact that what he claimed, if any of it was true, then he has the legal right to say all the things that he said and to do all the things that he did. Additionally, if he believed that those things were true, then in fact, everything that he said and everything that he did is perfectly legal. So what they have to prove is that Donald Trump didn't believe that it was true. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a moral certainty that Donald Trump, a man who has maintained up until this very day that he believes that there were illegalities and inconsistencies in the election, that it was not constitutionally sound, something I might add that millions of other Americans believe. Whether or not you or I or anybody believes it is irrelevant. Millions of Americans believe that. And I don't think it's unreasonable, notwithstanding even the evidence of the case. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that a belief held by tens of millions of Americans would be held by one more person, Donald Trump. And if that is the case, then everything that he did is perfectly legal. I might add one other thing. One of the things that I find conspicuous is that one of the phrases that was used in the law in the complaint against Donald Trump by the prosecutor was that he said to the Georgia elector, whoever the person was in Georgia, he said, find these votes, find them. But they left out the part where Donald Trump said, find these votes because we won. So Donald Trump didn't say create the votes in the same way that if I said find my glasses, it implies that I believe that I own a set of glasses. But when I say find my glasses because I own glasses, find these votes because we won, I think it's conspicuous. Why would the prosecutor leave out a particular part of a quote that to me tells the story that exonerates? I think it's exculpatory evidence, and that's something that would help to exonerate Donald Trump.
Tell us about this Fulton County, isn't it, in the state of Georgia, and Fani, as she will forever be remembered. Is she a rogue prosecutor, or is she tied in any way to the DOJ and to the Biden White House, in your view?
Well, I'll be quite frank. I don't, I haven't followed up on that as well as I should. So I don't know her background as much as I probably should. But I will say this. You can put the entirety of the cases against Donald Trump together in that you can start off by saying the state of New York, literally the legislature of the state went in to session and passed a law so that one person, a woman, could sue Donald Trump. They passed the law 1 minute after midnight. She files the lawsuit against Donald Trump. We can say that in New York, a case that was passed over by the Federal Election Commission, the FEC looked at this and said, we don't see that it's actionable. We're not going to charge Donald Trump. That a local prosecutor then took that same case and said, well, I think I'll use it to Donald Trump. What we can see is a pattern of, I would say, persecution against Donald Trump. I'm not a person, I'm far to the left. I'm where you are, George. My political ideology is antithetical to the things that Donald Trump believes in. But I think what we both believe in is justice, and Donald Trump is not getting justice whatsoever in this case. Also, before we go, I'd like to comment on my latest Twitter saga also.
Oh, go. Yeah, well, we will. We're not going anywhere soon because I've got more questions.
Sure.
The Tucker Carlson Donald Trump interview went head to head with the Donkey Derby on Fox News with the also rans. It has racked up numbers that are almost unbelievable. They're certainly unprecedented. What do you account for Carlson's success on our medium now, by the way? I mean, I hope we one day enjoy the same success. What's the X factor, if you like? What's the reason why Carlson is turning in tens of millions of viewers for his programs? He's about to interview, if he hasn't done already, somebody called X Cube. You're a cooler guy than me. You'll know who that is. I've never heard of him. But he's interviewing all kinds of people and racking up tens of millions of views. Why? How?
Yeah, well, this is the same dynamic as Joe Rogan. If you watch the GOP presidential debate, you'll understand why Donald Trump is blowing all of these people out. They simply did the usual old stale talking points. And we know for the Republican Party, it's lower taxes, pump more oil, things of that nature. Just talking points, sound bites that everyone has heard year after year. So if you turn on the GOP debate, you hear the same stale sound bites over and over. I'll cut more taxes than you will. No, I'll make the government smaller than you will. No, I'll pump more oil than you will. It was a snooze fest. You go to Donald Trump, the same as of Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan's style show. Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson came across as two people that were at least having an honest conversation, an independent conversation, a conversation that wasn't the usual talking points. You got the feeling that there were a couple people sitting there that they were thinking about what they were saying, they were considering their answers, and they weren't just using stale talking points that have been approved by the deep state and approved by their parties. And that's Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, you don't have to agree with him, but he comes on and he seems like he really means what he says. That's what people want. They want a real conversation. That's now what they're getting with Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and of course, shows like yours and mine and alternative media. Alternative media is becoming the only option that people have to get an actual media and a true discussion of the facts.
Now, there's no denying that Musk has made a difference on Twitter. He still owes me money, a lot of money, and I still get interference. But I now have over 500,000 followers, 507,000, I think, on X or on Twitter. And it's undoubtedly true that for the vast majority of people, the chains, the shackles, have been loosened, if not removed. Except there are some people who continue to be harassed. And I infer from what you said a minute or two ago, you are definitely one of those. What's happened?
Well, earlier this week, Monday morning, I attempted to log into the same Twitter account that I've had for the last 14 years, using the same email address, using the same password, the same phone number. I attempted to log into Twitter on Monday morning, and I got something popped up that said, change your password. Oh, okay, I'll change my password. When I clicked on change your password, it said suspended or locked account, and you can appeal. So I appealed the suspended or locked account. Here is the interesting thing. I will go to the meat of this. I went back and forth with Twitter. Hey, this is my account. What are you going to do? I can't get into my account. Provide us with such information, your name, your date of birth, blah, 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 blah. Okay. We went back and forth. And eventually I got an email from Twitter that said, we are unable to verify you, these exact words, unable to verify you as the account owner. We can't tell you who the true owner of this account is. We're sorry, this case is closed. You're free to start a new account. Now, that in and of itself sounds suspicious until you add this particular factor. I have a verified account and I pay for verification. I'm not a Twitter user. I am a Twitter customer. So when Twitter came out with this verification process under Elon Musk, they said, we want your name and phone number, email address, everything, firstborn male child, whatever. Of course, I'm being facetious, but they asked for a lot of information. I gave them the information. I then got something back from Twitter. Congratulations, you're a verified account. You have a blue check mark. Okay, so I have a blue checkmark account. Anyone can go to my account. The account is still sitting there. There's still a blue checkmark. So if you look at that blue checkmark, one of the things that means is that really is the real Garland Nixon. However, after verifying my account, after charging me month after month for a verified account, an account that I've had 14 years with the exact same username and email address, I get a letter from an email from Twitter that says, this is a verified account that I pay for. We are unable, meaning they don't have the capacity to verify me as the owner of the Twitter account that I pay monthly for the service specifically of verification. Now, if we take Twitter at their word, here's what that means. If they're telling the truth, which we have to assume that they are, that means they've done a pattern of fraud and deception. That means that they've said to their customers by the millions, they probably have millions of people paying $8 or $11 a month, whatever it is that we pay for us, and we will provide the service of verification. However, if you ever come to us and say, hey, my account's locked, now I need that service, I need you to verify me, we can't. As they say, we are unable to verify you. Now, they should have put again, because they've already verified me. I am currently paying Twitter monthly for a verified account. It has a blue check mark that says to everyone that comes to that account, this is Garland Nixon, and Twitter sends a message to me that says, we can't verify you as the account owner. It's locked up for life. You can never access this account again. I find that to be, one could look at that and say, I think that's fraud. I think it's unjustified enrichment. I think it's a number of really bad things that are actionable.
Well, you live in the land of the lawyer. I'd get an attorney right away, Garland, and I'm sure if you need one, my lawyers, you know that Twitter is headquartered notionally in Dublin. That's where I'm suing them, in the Dublin courts. And the case is at quite an advanced stage now. If you're watching Mr. Musk, I used to say I'd settle for a fleet of Teslas, but I'm afraid we're way past that now. You're welcome to approach my lawyer. I'll send you offset how to do that, because it might be useful to have a brief in Dublin for this particular case. Garland Nixon, as always, an absolute pleasure to interview you this evening